let's wrap up with whatever has happened with pDAI over last night. You can talk about whatever parts of it, if any, that you want to, Ewok. There's been a lot of questions about it in the chat. Marco, well, he specifically was talking about Sami's pDAI narrative. Maybe that wasn't the best comment to go off of for it, but like in terms of whatever did happen, because there has been like a pretty interesting shift, and who knows what's actually going to come of all this. And that's the big thing. Like, I think that's where maybe you and I have differed with this topic, Ewok, is I'm trying to, you can describe what I'm doing as like fence sitting or whatever, I don't know, but I am just open to whatever happens here. I mean, I don't think there's any I think I would rather just, first off, I'm not obviously the smartest guy about all this, and I would rather not take one side or the other as if I know anything to be true. And really, that's the way that I've placed my bets with it the entire time as well. Like anything that I had ever allocated into pDAI, whether it be back in 2023 or anytime recently or anything like that, has always been like a super insignificant, portion of anything that I've had invested in the ecosystem. And there's been a huge roller coaster with all this. You have, B Roots and Ian like selling the lows of it, supposedly, they say, and then creating a new teddy bear and all kinds of stuff like that. Then you have Sami, who's like the new, I was gonna call him the new B Roots. I don't think I should probably call him that, but the new main pDAI guy at the moment. And the overwhelming majority of people are completely against this. Think it's a scam. You have Panos and those guys benefiting, like doing streams completely based around pDAI 24/7 around the clock, even though they think it's a scam. There's just a lot of interesting things happen. But overnight last night, it was basically that this I forget her name, the Katrina woman or whatever she is. I don't know who all these people are. It's just characters on the blockchain, but basically that she somehow was given or has PMaker tokens, and like you brought up with me this morning, executed the ESM function on PMaker. So essentially, I don't know if that means that it is paused or dead, but basically that the PMaker is not usable now on Pulse Chain. And if this thing is going to happen and whatever is happening with pDAI, it is the Atropa ecosystem now. It's whatever is going on with that. Billions of pDAI were minted last night, which is why it like went down 99% instantly and then came back up to where it's at right now over the course of the day. But that was then used to pump up Atropa, Teddy Bear pumped, all these things pumped, PWBTC, the copy of Bitcoin on Pulse Chain. And it's speculated now that Atropa will be the vehicle to do whatever this stuff is. One thing that I think was great that St. Wolf said earlier that I think we should make abundantly clear, anybody that talks about pDAI should make abundantly clear, whether you support the idea or not, is that Richard Hart is not affiliated with it. It's good that Richard Hart has nothing to do with it. We have seen what happened to people that are behind, different stablecoin efforts in the past. And I'm glad that it is a community thing that is happening behind the scenes and does not have to do with Richard Hart. I think that is definitely a great thing, and people should stop. We've probably been guilty of it in the past, like speculating that he was behind it. I would think it's good that that is not something that is mentioned for everybody's safety. And he's adamantly, advertised against it, as we've seen. So, what do you make? I am curious, though, what you make of this latest thing. Not, you can say whatever you want in terms of what do you think will happen with it eventually. But it is interesting, like that, the route that everyone had been speculating about this in one direction or the other was all about PMaker. The essay that like Alex wrote about it, McWhorter and stuff like that. It was all about what can and can't happen with PMaker. But that's now out of the equation, it seems. So, yeah, I'm curious your thoughts.
Yeah, once the emergency stop mechanism was triggered, it pretty much disallows the minting of any more pDAI. So that hopefully is done and over with. That whole question, that whole narrative, whatever it was, is over and done with. The auctions or the joy or whatever it was that was supposed to trigger all this stuff, I believe that also comes to a stop. So now you're going to say, well, all right, well, we're going to use Atropa to try and peg it with this. Here, I still stand in a very similar spot, because when you have billions of tokens out there, which I don't know the total supply of Atropa, I'm assuming it's billions. And Maria, probably, if you want to look while I'm
I'm
talking.
trying.
But the problem is now you have to over collateralize Atropa. If you're gonna do any kind of pegging or make a P maker system out of Atropa instead of maker, basically it's, you have to kind of create a contract that does the same thing. You have to over collateralize it, which means everybody that has Atropa sitting in their wallet, if you've got 1 billion of them in your wallet, guess what? You've got to collateralize those. People can't collateralize for other people. And the problem is greed. You've got so many people, and this is why I kind of saw this coming with the pDAI too, is that people are going to speculate on cheap prices, get millions and millions of them, and hope it goes up. But what happens then? It triggers a waterfall of sells. I don't think people are going to say, well, I hold, $10,000 worth of Atropa. I'm going to collateralize my own. Well, there goes your speculation, because now you're putting up something that could be, closed upon if you do a loan and it gets liquidated. So that's the problem. And Maria has kind of shown to be a little flighty.
A
Maybe
little.
that's why. Well, I mean, he sat there on a live stream and just started dumping stuff. So there's
Very
there's too
eccentric
many.
individual.
There's very, very weird things, and the narratives just keep changing and shifting, and goalposts keep getting moved. And I am glad, however, that they're saying, okay, well, now it's Atropa. Richard's got nothing to do with it. Well, I mean, for those who believed what he was saying, is this is not me, guys. I have nothing to do with it. Hopefully that whole thing kind of goes away now and puts that to rest. I just don't see. Listen, if you're gonna create a stable coin, I'm gonna share this actually, because this was on Richard's long time ago roadmap. See if I can bring this up. Why is it not sharing? Oh, I know why. Because I'm an idiot. Here is some time ago. There was it's not letting me blow it up very well. But anyway, Pulse Chain Mainnet MVP, which is the most valuable products that they needed. Testnet, Go.hex, Bridges, Uniswap, Block Explorer. Post release would be trading, the swap features. You got coin ranking site, replace MetaMask. So here's the wallet replacement. You've got Uniswap, but a cross chain. So he wanted to do cross chain swaps for that. And down here, it's underlined stable coin from my exchange I'm making. Point being, is anybody that is going to create a stable coin, you have to do it from inception. You can't give people millions and millions of tokens and then expect them to peg and hold with any kind of protocol. Again, the greed thing just steps in and takes way over, from trying to bring something from 0.000001 all the way up to $1. It just, there's too much greed in the world. If there weren't greed, Hex would still be at 40 cents and people would have only peeled off the yield and sold that. I mean, that's just, frankly, that's how the world works. So again, trying to get something to believe in something that's going to peg when people hold millions and millions of them, and you're not going to get individuals to over collateralize their own, there's no point in it. Then it's not speculating anymore. I still think is a lost proposition. That's just that's how I feel. I just don't. I hate to listen. If pDAI would have worked, you still would have only had so much liquidity. Yes, it could have pumped the ecosystem, but such thin liquidity supporting it and holding it up, it almost would have become a house of cards. And unfortunately, to create a stable coin, I think you really have to start from zero block, over collateralize that with your things in place where the auctions take place. If you over mint, it auctions. If you under mint, people can buy it up cheaper and support the price. So anyway, that's my token. That's my thoughts on the elephant in the room. And and I know you've been, like you said, you've been very middle of the road about the whole thing too. You're like, great if it does. If it doesn't, no big deal. I'm not over invested. My fear is just that people are going all in on this and saying, wow, it's a great idea. And you got people like Nine Iron Capital and Decentralize Me and all these guys. There's just so many crazy that sound almost too good to be true possibilities where people are just going in with very large sums of money. And my fear is nothing's going to happen and they're going to get wrecked and it's going to be a bad experience. But again, it's not my job to protect people. I just like to bring up what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, anybody that gets wrecked on it is entirely, it's their own fault. I mean, just like anything else, like I said, like any amount, and same with you, any amount that you had ever had, and it was totally an amount that it's like if you lost it, okay. I mean, and I still totally feel that way. Really, the significance to me, I think there's this thing that people that are vehemently against it and think that people are just talking because they're bag holders miss is that they're not just excited about it and wanting it to happen because they hold a big pDAI bag, which they actually may or may not. It's also because there's been a narrative that a lot more people used to believe in just a few months ago that now totally don't. That it could send this ecosystem to like way higher places than they ever thought possible. And there's people that still like that idea, obviously, and would like to think that that's still out there and can just sit here harmlessly hoping and thinking that without even buying much of the token, which I I find no issues with. And if that were to happen, that does benefit all of us. I mean, if something like that were to happen, there's a whole bunch of benefits that everybody that invests in the whole ecosystem could garner. And so I do think that's true. I mean, I think KG even kind of said it on that stream earlier. I think most people be like, yeah, that'd be cool if it were able to happen, but they just maybe don't see the pathway to it happening, which is okay. I mean, there's many times in life and in crypto or ventures like this that you could not see a pathway of something happening, and then something happens that you had no insight or intel into whatsoever. That came along. I mean, none of us thought that all of a sudden PMaker was going to be out of the equation. So, and I understand that might just create even more doubt for people now, but just an example, that's something that was out of left field that wasn't even conceivable like a day ago. So
yeah. Well, and an interesting thing about that whole ESM, what if some of that money that was moved by the sacrifice address went in to buy Maker to shut it down? What nobody really knows who did it.
Exactly.
I don't think.
Yeah, nobody knows who sent the PMaker to whatever her name is, Katarina or whatever.
Whatever the name is, I don't know, but there's a possibility, and maybe it wasn't even. They don't even know who it is. There's just so many questions, and unfortunately, again, you have to over collateralize stuff, and what's the point in speculating on something if you have to do that? I just don't think it holds up well. But anyway,
speculation is spice of life here.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's why we're here, right? We are speculating on things, but I think anyway, I don't know. I don't know where I was going to go with that, but
one thing I did do today that I thought was interesting is if for anybody, this is just, copy me if you want to, I only did it with some of it, but with those moves from last night, if you ever did want to have any kind of a pDAI position, but you're afraid to use like new capital because of the risks and stuff right now, which I totally understand. I mean, I honestly haven't even been DCing into any of it. If you had already ever held Atropa just as a lottery ticket size and or the PWBTC, those ratios went insane since yesterday. So if you wanted to increase your bag of pDAI without putting your hard-earned money in there because you're worried about it, if you already happen to hold those tokens, now the ratio is actually incredibly advantageous that you could dump Atropa and or PWBTC part of it if you want to. I would look at the charts. I'm just saying something that I saw and that I did, and put it into pDAI if you wanted to do that. So it's up to you. I mean, it's just slushing money around at the end of the day, and it's just ratios. It's not new money, but that's just for anybody that believes and cares. I'm not telling anybody to do it that thinks, you know, that pDAI is a cancer killing the chain. You can do whatever the hell you want to do, but I'm just letting people know that that's all. So
yeah, interestingly enough, Atropa is one of the tokens I don't believe I've ever held any of. I don't just never picked any up. So I always thought I thought Maria was just a little too far out there, and I didn't know what crazy concocted thing was going on with all the webs of liquidity, and it was too overwhelming almost. And I was just like, nah, I'm staying away from that.
You had Teddy Bear though, didn't you? Didn't you have Teddy Bear?
I do have some Teddy, yeah.
Okay.
Not much.
Some Teddy. Do you have Bear or do you have Teddy? Because Teddy's the new one that B Roots is pretending is Teddy Bear that isn't.
The old one. The old Bear. Okay. I did buy some Bear.
Well, you're up right now if you want to get out of it.
Maybe I will.
Knowing you probably want to get out of it. So FYI.
Switch it into Hex.
Diamond hands it. I don't know. Swap it into pDAI, whatever you want to do.
I'm good.
Yeah. Anyway, it is fascinating. I mean, it's a fascinating story. I mean, even the people that, you know, hate it and everything are talking about it every single day and stuff like that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, it's just one of those things that you don't have to be. That's a cool thing I've said to you so many times. You don't have to be really involved in it one way or the other. I mean, in some ways we all are to an extent because you're in Pulse Chain, but you don't have to buy pDAI. You don't have to be involved with that ecosystem. It's just, I'm fascinated by whatever the weird story is and just watching it happen. That's all. So
for sure.